Alright guys, we're back. Um, just to kind of catch you up on what I did. I adjusted the groin a little bit, so it kind of follows the shape a little bit better. But still kind of square looking, but I'm not too worried about that. Shape will come in a little bit when we start adding more polygons. But I did raise the back here up a little bit more, and I kind of shaped this a little bit. Simply because the shoulders sit a little bit higher, the back here. You see the muscle structure. So I raised it up. So that's okay that it dips down because we're going to be adjusting that a little bit later. So in this one, we're going to start with the arms, and I'm going to go through um, what layers are and how you can actually utilize them. So let's get going with that. So first thing I'm going to do, it's always important, you're not using history or whatever, uh, keep your meshes clean. So I'm going to freeze my transforms, and I'm going to delete my history on this guy. So if we want to make a new layer, we have these buttons over here. I'm going to select my object, and I'm going to click this little piece of paper that has a star and a sphere next to it. Click that, and I'm just going to rename this torso. And if you want to color code it, you can select one of these little palettes here and select it. I'm not worried about that, so I'm just going to name it torso. What's cool about this is it gives us the ability to turn this on and off. We can turn it on being transparent, so it'll be right there for us. And I have it set to reference. What this does is it allows it to be displayed, but I can't interact with it. So that's really nice when we're getting our junctions ready to go. So, all right. So I'm going to start with the leg. So this is box modeling. So again, we're going to start with a box. And we're going to set it to 2 by 2 by 2. All right. Cool. So I'm just going to put my torso on reference so I can't accidentally interact with it. So I'm going to make this guy, start getting it appropriate size, roughly. And I'm just going to do this one to where the knee is, roughly. Good. And then I'll just extrude off the bottom there to add more. So. And your edges in the middle, you want to try to keep those in the center as much as you can. I'm going to click that. All right. So the leg turns here, so we want the geometry to do the same. So we're going to pull that up there, pull that up there. And you kind of want there to be this nice flow to everything you do with this. So your edge flow doesn't just abruptly like start turning. You want it to start to have this curve to it throughout the actual flow of the geometry. And all right, cool. I'm just gonna leave that right there for now, and then faces, extrude. I'm just gonna pull this all the way down to the ankle. We're not gonna do the foot right now. I'll do that in a separate video. And for this guy, we're just gonna do a really simple foot. It's pretty much just gonna be a wedge, just because you guys have to do hands, and that's gonna be hard enough as is. So make it easy on you. So about right there. And then we'll just insert edge loop. Try to capture that calf a little bit. Alright, I'll do another one so we can kind of get this undercut. Let's see. And then I'm going to have to do another one for down here, so we kind of get the way the ankle tapers in. And then I'm going to do one for the knee here. Let's move that out a little. Alrighty. And we do one more. Just on the upper part here. Maybe on the lower too. I'll do one on each side. Do one there and I'll do one here. Anytime you add an edge loop in, or just add more vertices, you want to make sure you're moving them, because it's not going to smooth it. So you want to make sure if you have the geometry there, it's actively doing something. It's not just sitting there wasting space. So, all right, and then we're going to do the same thing we did for the torso. Hit solo. Just select those edge loops all the way down. My four corners. And control. Bring it. So it can get a little weird sometimes, like things like this. The reason that happened is because the center of mass is over in front of that right there. So what we'll do is we'll just get our move tool and we'll just move it back a little bit. There we go. So that'll probably be something you run into with doing the legs and the arms. But there we go. So there's our leg. So I'm going to freeze transforms, delete history, and I'm going to put it on a layer. I'm going to name it. And right now, we're not worried about the deformation topology at the moment. We're going to come in, we're going to adjust our edge flow, so that's respected a little bit more. Okay. Cool. All right, so let's make another box. And again, we're going to do 4x4, or 2x2, I'm sorry. I'm going to approach this the same way I did with the legs, where I'm going to start with the upper half and I'll go to the lower half. With this, we're going to stop at the wrist. So we're going to have a problem here because we don't have a top view of the arm. So if you wanted to, you could go grab a top view of the arm, and it might make your life a little bit easier. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to make this happen because I understand the basic anatomy, and I'll kind of show you how you kind of need to approach doing an arm. because it's not going to be straight your topology like everywhere else, and that can be challenging for people. So just gonna scale this down. So what I can do is I can use this little silhouette here to kind of help place it. Oh, the arm goes there. Cool. So that'll help. Yeah. And if you didn't want to use that scaling technique to soften it up, you can come in and just do this kind of thing right here. Um, the reason I don't like doing this right off the bat is because you get your vertices line up with that, and you think, oh, cool, I'll just move this third, and then this will move, but this edge won't move here, and then it can just cause confusion. So that's why I like to wait towards the end to do it. Okay. So one thing that happens as your arm goes away from you, it tapers down. So I'm just going to taper this off a little bit. Now I just go back and adjust it. Cool. So select those faces and I'll extrude them. And again, taper. So boom. And we just taper this a little bit like that. I'm going to pull this back this way a little bit because of your forearm. There's a muscle that sits right there, and you have the bone that goes straight. So that's kind of what we're going to go for with that. All right. And let's insert an edge loop. We're going to need a few edge loops in here. I'll just pull these up. Actually, let me stop what I'm doing because I forgot to do something. Show you guys something. Okay, so after I pull this down, one of the things you have to do, so I'm going to try to square this up a little bit. Okay. So if you've ever seen the bones inside of your forearm and how they work, you have your radius and your ulna. Yeah, your ulna. And your radius will overlap your ulna. Your radius is the bone that's right over here, and your ulna's in the back, closest to your elbow. So when you lay your arm flat, this bone will actually come over and overlap this way. So because that's the way our anatomy works, and we're trying to mimic anatomy here, we need to have our geometry kind of do the same. So I'm going to rotate this like so. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees towards the front. All right. I know that looks like a mess, but when we go to smooth it, it looks better. And when we actually start developing the silhouette, it'll be better. So you need to do that. Yes, this looks scary and awful, but just gives you good topology for animation and rigging. So, but we can still insert our edge loops, and that's all good. And if you go into vertex mode and, ooh, that's not vertex mode, and that intimidates you, just go to edge mode and just move the edges with the scale tool, and just deal with it like that. You can rotate it a little bit. and that'll work pretty well. Take this guy and move it over here just a little bit, just for my elbow. There's some other things we're gonna have to do for the elbow. Sure, some of you can tell already. Modeling a human is not the easiest thing. So, and then insert another edge loop there. And I know this needs to scale a little bit. All right. This is gonna end up being really weird. Oh yeah. So instead of doing it in the y-axis, we did it in the z-axis, because we're not dealing with up and down. If we scaled it in the, did I say z? I meant x-axis, because if we scale in the x, it does this. Don't want that. Okay. So we got some edges to fix up here, but it's not too bad. Select them, just pull them up. Shape this a little bit. Oh, I was looking at the wrong ledge. Oops. And I'll put another edge loop right here in the arm, so I start to get that shoulder shape. What am I actually going to do with this one? So I'm going to tilt it out like this. I can bring this in a little bit. Go ahead and insert another edge loop here. Excellent. And then I'm going to also put another edge loop. Move this over a little bit right here. And I'm going to put an edge loop right here. Because what I need to do, actually I need to take this edge and I need to move it in. So again, if you're not familiar with the anatomy of a forearm or an arm period, get a top-down image of it and just import it into your top viewing plane. It'll make your life a little bit easier. Okay. So I'm gonna finish this guy up, throw it on a layer, and then we'll move on to the next part.